Hey guys, this is Detecting, and we're back for yet another episode of the Civ V AI Largest Nations game. I messed it up again. Anyway, so just to recap what happened last time quickly, Pakistan and the United States got into a war. Pakistan managed to hold off the United States, but then gave away Karachi in a peace deal, which really screwed them over. Then they settled a city up here in Great Britain. That pissed the Congo off a lot. So the Congo attacked them, and the United States attacked them again. They're teetering on the edge of defeat. Vietnam tried to attack Nigeria and take Lagos. They kind of depleted their resources. They couldn't take the city, and that caused that allowed the Turks here, played by the Ottomans, to kind of swoop in and attack them and take Hanoi. The Philippines went to war with Japan and was like, I'm not having any of this. So they took Satsumi, and they were putting pressure on Tokyo for quite a while. Meanwhile, their entire civilization is in resistance. This is based off of their unique ability. I think they get bonus trade, but then they can go into resistance occasionally. Anyway, it looks like Indonesia has taken advantage of that to kind of build up a military. Anyway, France and Brazil went to war, and as you can see, Rio de Janeiro here is in France's possession. Sao Paulo looks fine for now, however, France has finally started to build up a navy, and Sao Paulo being on the coast is going to have a lot of difficulty holding off a navy. Even if it's just a couple of triremes, the fact that the French can put pressure on them with composite bowmen and triremes and spearmen, it's not looking good for Brazil right now. Anyway, everybody's kind of ganging up on Pakistan here because they're in their death throes. Ethiopia is still looking very menacing. Egypt is at war with the Congo, just to remind everybody, though nothing's really going to come of it. The Congo is at war with the United States, though they really haven't committed to taking Karachi, even though it's completely undefended. I think it's just a war in name only. Russia is at war with Siam, and Siam is really pissed off that they've founded this unpronounceable city here. Again, it was... Who destroyed it last time? Was it Siam or was it Germany? I feel like it was Germany that razed it to the ground. Razed it. You know what I meant. Anyway, China's at war with the United Kingdom. They took Birmingham, and they've tried to take London. They have yet to damage it at all. And the poor United Kingdom is going to be left with Liverpool. Now, last time I was knocking on Liverpool unnecessarily. I have nothing against people from Liverpool, but I liked that joke. I liked all the jokes I made, so we're going to continue that. Can you imagine a worse fate being left with nothing but Liverpool? And of course, here's Mexico, who's not only expanded across the entirety of Oceania, they've also... Well, not the entirety of Oceania, I guess they've left New Zealand here. And Papua New Guinea. But they've also kind of expanded into Indonesia, and I guess Malaysia would be here, yeah. So this would just be Indonesia here. In fact, that's their largest island there? I can't remember the name of it. Geography. Anyway, let's get this show on the road. Actually, we're going to move our attention up here when the turn order begins. Just because, again, we want to catch the fall of Pakistan, our first official elimination, aside from poor Persia, who couldn't settle a city at the start of the game. This might actually be our first final elimination. Actual elimination, not final elimination. And as we can see here, Japan and the Philippines have made peace. Japan has recognized the Philippines' military power, and of course the Philippines, they see Indonesia kind of building up their forces here, and they kind of want to be ready for that. I don't blame them. This was a war that benefits both of them. They both kind of came out of that in the end. Japan got to keep Tokyo up here, and the Philippines got to refocus their efforts on building up their military. Sao Paulo has started to take damage. The Ottomans are still consolidating their power over Hanoi. I still have faith that... so Nigeria, despite being invaded by Vietnam, has actually made peace with the Vietnamese, and they're actually friends now because they both kind of acknowledge that Turkey here is the bigger threat on the continent. And I'm really interested to see whether or not the AI will actually work together, just because it's so rare for the AI to kind of push for anything other than win conditions. See, this is what's missing in civilization games. I wish the AI would do more tactics like that. It's like, hey, I understand we're both kind of working towards the same goal, but you know, where it's better if we kind of stick together for a little while and then kind of screw each other over later on. or maybe not screw each other over at all. Which is, again, I haven't played far enough into Civ 6. I think they brought vassal states back, but it really seems strange to me. I've brought this up before in other videos, that you can't simply, like, enter into political unions with nations that you're friends with. Now, there should be, like, a lot of conditions for joining into political unions with other nations. It looks like Congo's finally marching on Karachi. The United States is very thankful for having just this one tile strip that they can kind of funnel forces into. They have triremes, but I don't think triremes are going to do anything against a 22 defense city. And of course we head here, where I'm proven wrong by the fact that triremes are actually taking a decent chunk of Sao Paulo's health. Again, France is going to have to ramp up a bit more their navy. I would have actually waited until they had around 8 or 9 triremes, just so they could kind of like blanket the coast. Send 2 of them up, deal damage when those die. Send 2 more up, deal more damage, and just kind of keep constant pressure on them. This is what I think of as a human player, though, and of course we're watching AI. Alright, which do you think is going to fall first? There we go. We got the full view here. What is going to fall first? Is it going to be Pakistan or Russia's city there? Neither, amazingly. They're both very close. But the United States doesn't have a melee unit in range. They do, but it has a bit of water between it and its goal, which kind of sucks for them. Who's leading the American forces here? Sitting Bull, who was actually technically an American general. I mean, he was Sioux. I never know how to pronounce that. Sioux. He was a native leader. Who fought against the United States in the Indian Wars, I believe it was. It's been ages since I've read his history. He was an interesting guy, though. I do remember that. I'm recording this way later than I should be. I keep doing this with my videos. I get home from work and I sit down. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a nap. I'm going to have dinner. And then I'm going to record. And what always winds up happening, looks like France's navy has just been destroyed outside of Sao Paulo, so good on the Brazilians for holding the nearly impenetrable city for now. Looks like Congo is slowly moving their navy up, put pressure on Karachi. Oh, Islamabad is so close to falling. Vietnam has denounced the Ottomans. Ethiopia and India are now friends. This one's unsurprising. This one didn't really see coming, but that's just because they're not really neighbors. That is an interesting development for Egypt. I would not want to be Egypt right now. The 2 huge militaries next door have just formed an alliance. It's like Poland sitting between Germany and Russia at the dawn of World War II. I would be concerned. Anyway, looks like Egypt's actually moving a settler up north here. Maybe they're going to piss off the Congo by settling on Great Britain again. I know Pakistan made that mistake. Just keep an eye on the other territories of the world. They still have yet to deal any damage to London. They have had this whole area surrounded, blanketed with forces. I gotta hand it to London. Those Londonites, they are hella good fighters to hold off the entire Chinese military like that. Alright, let's get our frame here going again. Let's see, what's gonna fall? Is Sarkoyi Cello going to fall, or is Islamabad gonna fall? Islamabad still doesn't have military or melee units in range. And SAR actually has a spearman at its gates. On top of that, Ethiopia has declared war on Russia, which is not good for Russia. That is not a good development for Russia. Ideally, if Ethiopia attacked Thailand, that would have been the best option, but no. Ethiopia smells blood in the waters. They're going to move up, they're going to take St. Petersburg, and then they're going to pivot their focuses to Egypt, along with India. Now, the one good thing that Egypt has going for it is that the Middle East is very defensible. They have this strait here through Persia. Like, not Persia here. Like, where Persia is here is where Persia is in real life, Iran. And they also have, of course, the... what is it called? The Suez Canal between them and India. Oh, and Karachi has started to take damage. The United States really has to push now to take Islamabad so that their forces can actually move forward and help to defend Karachi. It looks like Egypt is going to settle on the United Kingdom. Good for them. And nothing else is going on in the rest of the world. London has yet to take any damage. Alright, let's see what's going to happen here. Anyway, the point I was getting to earlier before I got distracted by all the stuff going on in the game is that a whole bunch of nations have formed together from a whole bunch of smaller states joining together to form a big one. And it seems strange that in the strategy games about nations that you can't do that. And, of course, SAR has been captured by Siam. And they haven't renamed it. Because they're like, hey, our city names are equally unpronounceable. So we're going to keep this. I'm sure some of you thought that was offensive. But you know what? I'm a unilinguist. It's not English, so I have an excuse. That's going to piss people off as well. And Egypt has settled the city of Elephantine. Odd city name as well. Up in the United Kingdom, and immediately the Congo just starts shitting all over them. Again, these two were at war. Didn't really think anything was going to come from it. This might have actually saved Karachi, because the Congo has immediately moved their navy to take this one pop city in the United Kingdom. For some reason, the Congo doesn't want the British Isles to be settled. On that note, let's head over to London, where London is still managing, amazingly, to hold off the technologically superior and numerically superior Chinese military. Meanwhile, Germany's kind of getting their forces into play. The Germans might actually take another crack at Beijing, which would be an interesting development. Sao Paulo is still holding its own. And Vietnam is still nothing more than 3 catapults and 2 spearmen. There's a buildup of forces in North America. Looks like Japan is focusing more on its navy, as it should. Alright, let's see what happens here. The United States now has a catapult in range. Still no melee units. Their closest one is the spearman here. But, they've kind of bottlenecked themselves. This is exactly what happened during the first American-Pakistani war. And Pakistan amazingly gave away a city, even though they could have held this terrain. They made some very poor decisions. London has still yet to take damage, and the Ethiopians have managed to march on St. Petersburg. Looks like they're slowly but surely moving their military up alongside the Thailandese. The Thai. I don't know why I keep mixing up demonyms like that. I blame exhaustion. Elephantine has been captured by the Congo, and they're not razzing it. They're going to hold on to it. There we go. The Barbarian. Barbarian move always freezes up the game for some reason. I guess that's where it, like, finalizes all of its logic in the turn. We have a settler for Persia shoved all the way down here. I thought one of these nations was giving the Persians refuge, but instead they're just like letting the Iranians sit on this neutral hill. I'm assuming once Ethiopia's borders expand, maybe Thebes, Egypt's, they're going to be pushed out into the ocean somewhere, as is tradition. London still hasn't taken damage. St. Petersburg is still fine. And it looks like the United States is actually slowly but surely backing off because it realizes it can't get any melee units in there. See, why don't they just move up these chariot archers? Ugh. Meanwhile, the Congo, the United States is now in big trouble because Karachi is kind of surrounded from both sides, top and the bottom now, north and south. And they still have no way to defend their city. Come on, America. Give us an elimination. They're not going to do it. There we go. Oh, man. Huge development. Let's get right on this. 8 turns in, and these might be Germany has publicly denounced America. Unsurprising. St. Petersburg is surrounded by enemies. The Russians are doing a valiant effort of holding them off. So far. Meanwhile, Germany declares war on Beijing and the People's Republic of China. China has thrown their entire military at the impenetrable walls of London, not realizing that the people of London have constructed these walls out of some kind of adamantium, steel, unobtainium armor. And that's clearly above the technological level of their composite bowmen. Like, it's not that they're not capable of taking the city, it's the fact that they haven't dealt any damage, period, in the past, 20, 30 turns? That's crazy. Meanwhile, the German war machine is marching on Beijing. Relatively undefended lands. Look like they have some forts. That'll help them. Now, if Germany can just move up their forces here, all into the Chinese territory there, I think China's going to have to make a very difficult decision here. Do they push for London? Do they try to make peace and gain Liverpool in the peace deal? Or do they just abandon everything for the United Kingdom and just move all their forces here down to the south? And I just realized, one moment, don't think this should affect the properties, capture camera mouse. There we go. You guys can see this now? Yeah, I like to have my cursor active for these videos so you know what I'm pointing to. Just want to make sure it's working on my end. I'll say it's working on my end. Alright. If it doesn't, that's my bad. But I made the effort. Anyway, so back to South America, where even more war has been going on. Instead of pivoting to the north, as the Philippines predicted, hence their peace deal with Japan, Indonesia has pivoted south to attack Nigeria, and they've recruited the Turks in their little scheme. So Turkey's not really a threat to Nigeria right now, but Nigeria really has to be careful because Turkey so far has proven themselves to be very shrewd tacticians. They let Vietnam exhaust themselves before moving in and taking Hanoi. And the same thing might happen here. They might wait until Nigeria is nice and exhausted and weak before sending all their military units in. Looks like they're slowly going to be building up a navy as well. And that's really what Nigeria has to worry about in regards to Indonesia here. Actually, not only does Indonesia have a navy, they also have swordsmen. They have their Chris swordsman, which is their unique unit, which gains a random bonus promotion. Sometimes good, most times bad. Karachi is still being slowly but surely attacked. It's like a slow motion invasion. And St. Petersburg, there's one valiant archer standing here on the front lines. Alright, let's see where this goes. I feel like here is now the important part to watch, as Indonesia brings their entire navy down to bear on the Nigerians. If anything, Nigeria really has to thank God for the fact that Central America is so narrow. That tip between North America and South America right here at the edge of Colombia and Panama. The Indonesians are going to have a difficult time moving their military over that. And Indonesia has to hope that at some point Turkey manages to move their forces around the poor little Vietnamese state here in the middle of the Amazon rainforest and actually attacks Nigeria from behind. They really want two fronts. Meanwhile, Sao Paulo is still taking a bit of damage. Again, I don't think France is going to take this. They're probably going to make a peace deal and then try later on when they're a bit more technologically advanced. So far in this game, though, France has really surprised me. I keep saying they're not going to be able to do things, and they do them. So maybe Napoleon will surprise us. I doubt it. But maybe. Alright, let's head over here. It looks like China so far is doubling down on their efforts to take the United Kingdom before pivoting back to Beijing. They're putting a lot of faith in their walls and their imperial spearmen here. I don't think they would be imperial, considering it's the People's Republic of China, but that just sounds like a better word than saying communist spearmen. Oh, and there's finally a melee unit at the gates of Islamabad. Will they take it? No! No, they didn't! They threw their entire weight against it, and they failed. Oh my god. There's a second one here and a third one here. There's also a composite bowman in range. There's a chariot archer that's been disembarked for some reason. 2 archers across the river. The North Sea, attacking it. Damn good bows to be attacking from that range. Germany is really pouring their forces into Chinese territory. And the Indonesian Navy is meeting the Nigerian Navy, which is around half the size, in battle. God bless the Nigerian Navy. Russia and Egypt are now friends. Russia and India are now friends. Not that that's going to matter much in a couple of turns when they're gobbled up by either Ethiopia or Thailand. And this is what will decide which one of these two is going to be a major power. It's one or the other. It's just like France and Brazil. At some point, these two are going to have to fight each other. Karachi's taking more damage. The United States isn't making any headway into attacking Islamabad. They now have Sitting Bull standing with these spearmen. They have a whole bunch of rangers, bowmen in play, and they're still not moving forward. What gives, US? What gives, America? You could do this. You could end them. You could take a capital, but you refuse to do it. You don't got the balls. Looks like Mexico has settled another city here in Indonesia, Puebla. Looks like a nice little one-tile city. Whole bunch of houses next to it with a beautiful look of an atoll. Oh my god. The United Kingdom, despite their really, really bad starting location, they just refused to go quietly into that good night. They're really giving the Chinese hell. They're just saying to them, if we're going down, we're taking you with us. It's like Indonesia still not making a lot of progress attacking Nigeria thanks to this very narrow land bridge here. They've managed to disembark their units. They've gotten to that technological point. That being said, especially when Nigeria has all of these ranged units, you don't exactly want to try and perform a naval invasion. An amphibious assault is not a good idea. Alright, come on, take Islamabad. Start moving up your forces. You can do this. I know you're war-weary, but the end is almost in sight. Alright, so the United States has made peace with the Congo without giving away any territory. Good on Washington there. Egypt has also made peace with the Congo, again without giving away any territory. That's good on Egypt. Well, technically they lost territory already, so I guess that's okay on Egypt. Now, if the Congo actually does manage to take Karachi at one point, they're going to have a huge empire that spans all of West Africa here, as well as Western Europe. Be one hell of an empire. Meanwhile, not much more has gone on here. Again, Germany slowly pouring into China. Slowly being the operative word in that sentence. Ibadan has finally taken damage, but it looks like the Turkish Navy kind of kamikazed it to do that, so I don't think anything's really going to come of it unless they really start pushing with their forces here. And then they have to worry about the Philippines to the north. And Japan to the east, because Japan's Navy, if they decided to swoop in after Indonesia weakened themselves, they would be in for a world of hurt. Alright, come on, America. See, what's going to happen is I'm going to focus on them at the end of every turn just to see if they actually do something. And it's only going to be after I turn away from them to check on something else that they actually manage to take it. This is usually how these games go. All of these computer players are very camera shy. Alright, our golden age has ended. Doesn't really matter. Alright, so Egypt has declared war on Ethiopia. They saw them colluding with India, and they've decided to take the first step. They were like, we see what you're doing, we're not going to have any of it, and so we're going to attack you while you're focusing on Russia. Now, that doesn't seem like a smart idea just because Egypt has a whole bunch of chariot archers, and Ethiopia has a lot of spearmen and catapults, from the looks of it. So not only does Ethiopia have something that counters Egypt's unique unit here, but they also have something that will help them to take Egyptian cities. That being said, they're not going at it alone. They also have Germany backing them up. Germany, just having finished pouring their military into Chinese territory, has decided to make peace with China in order to pivot to Ethiopia, a nation that they cannot attack unless they also declare war on Thailand and actually happen to go through the entire Thai military here. Not a smart move on Hitler's part. That's probably a good thing, though. Alright, here's the Persian settlers. They weren't pushed into the ocean, so that's good. They were just pushed towards Nazi Germany. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Lagos is also taking damage. Again, Indonesia's kind of depleting their navy doing that, so I don't think anything's going to come from that. And Turkey's really not committing themselves. They're like, we're fine with Hanoi for now. Looks like the Philippines is slowly moving their military to the south, though. Indonesia's got a lot to worry about. And we move back to Islamabad, of course. Looks like Pakistan finally has spearmen in play. So the United States sort of missed their chance here to take Islamabad. Wow. And the spearman actually manages to destroy a unit and push forward. That spearman's got balls, I'll give him that. And Mexico has declared war on Germany. Which is interesting because they could actually, they could do some damage to Berlin, Germany's largest city. Now, of course, Germany has their navy here to hold off the Mexicans. These are all just weird sentences to say. I understand that. But Mexico also has a pretty impressive navy. Germany also has some forces off the coast of Mexico, but with all these triremes just kind of dotted around the place, I don't think they're going to do any damage. They kind of have to consolidate themselves like the Mexican Navy here. I don't think anything's going to come from that war, but it's an interesting development. Meanwhile, Egypt and Ethiopia are meeting in the middle of Iran there. Oh. And Nigeria has founded the city of Abuja on, I want to say, no, that's Cuba over there. What would this... I have no idea what that island would be. I want to say Puerto Rico. Alright, so Thailand has made peace with Russia. They've actually come out of this war on top. They managed to take a new city, which has surprisingly grown to a population of 4 citizens. It's also adopted Oriental Orthodoxy. And they still they have most of their military intact. Now, their territory is a little spread thin, but the fact that they have this fierce fighting force here compared to all their neighbors, who, aside from Germany, have kind of exhausted themselves in war, or they're preoccupied by war, they're doing all right. It looks like the United States destroyed that spearman by damaging their own spearman. They have the power to disembark units, and instead of disembarking a spearman or building a trireme or doing something, I guess they can't build a trireme, they're not on a coast, but instead of building a melee unit to just come in and take the city, they've instead decided to just disembark their chariot archers. Washington was doing so well, and now he's kind of mucking it up. Alright, and China, funny enough, builds the Great Wall to hold off the Nazi Germans, just like real life. And, of course, unsurprisingly, London is also taking damage. That is probably the most interesting development of this turn. Turn 117, London finally took damage. And, of course, the Philippines here has declared war on Indonesia. They look like they outnumber the Indonesian military 2-1. Typically, you need 3-1 odds to defeat a defender. So let's see how this plays out for them. Pakistan and Great Britain are now friends. The doomed civilizations are banding together. So this is interesting. So the Philippines and Indonesia have what appear to be equally matched navies, at least on the west coast here. And Indonesia has Chris Swordsman already, but the Philippines has composite bowmen. So the Philippines has a technological edge for ranged units. However, Indonesia obviously has a technological edge for melee units. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Turkey is still kind of idling by. Vietnam is slowly rebuilding their military force. France is still trying to take Sao Paulo. Berlin has actually taken just a shred of damage, but it's interesting that Mexico, on turn 2 of a war, has already managed to scratch their opponent's capital. And of course, London is completely healed now. Islamabad, the city that will not be taken. Now again, I know I'm supposed to be unbiased, but I really want an elimination. And if the United States can't deliver it, I'm going to start questioning their entire performance in this battle royale here. And Germany has declared war, or Washington's declared war on Hitler. And just like in real life, there's a world between them. So I doubt anything will come from that war. But it shows that there's going to be a great foundation for a Mexican-American alliance in the future, just because now they both have Germany as an enemy. Philippines is steadily marching on Jakarta. It looks like Nigeria is building up their military here on the west coast. If I was the United States, I would be worried. They're finally moving up a spearman. Can they move it up into range to take this city? Can they do it? They're moving up a swordsman as well. Come on, Washington. And instead, they fortify the spearmen in that position, thereby blocking off their entire military, which can't get through this bottleneck. Quite the strategist, Washington. Nigeria, despite being kind of pincered maneuvered, has actually managed to hold their ground thanks to their geography. Of course, that might change in the future, just because Turkey has now officially shown that they're willing to use citadels to capture enemy territory. That's some nice territory as well that they've managed to take from Vietnam. What else is going on? Berlin's back up to full. Chinese military is still in disarray. Will Islamabad be taken? So far, nothing yet. Oh! Surabaya has taken damage from the Nigerian Navy. I don't think they're going to be able to take it just with all the Nigerian forces nearby, but this is a slap in the face to Indonesia. Nigeria's like, you'll declare war on us? Well, take this. The brave few Nigerians who sacrifice themselves just to spite the Emperor of Jakarta. It looks like Thailand and China. Oh, that's odd. I thought, for a second, I thought that both China and Thailand declared war on Germany, but then I saw the flags, and I realized the wires got crossed on my brain, and it looks like Thailand's declared war on both China and Germany. Interesting. Well, they've settled the Citadel, which should make attacking Hamburg a bit easier. That being said, Germany's not exactly a military pushover. They look like they have a pretty decent military in their core here. China, on the other hand, is looking a little bare. That being said, they have the Great Wall, so they have a bit of extra defense. Thailand's really getting ballsy here. Let's see if this bold strategy pays off. They're really taking advantage of the fact that Russia is weak, and Ethiopia, the only opponent, their only neighbor that could actually challenge them, is currently preoccupied fighting Egypt. Oh, there's a spearman at the gates. Are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? They've done it! And we have our first elimination. It only took like 30 turns. But the United States has taken Islamabad, and Pakistan, amazingly, a nation that seemed like it would be a sure bet to get into the final rounds of this competition, into this battle, has been eliminated first by a nation who, by all accounts, would have been screwed being surrounded by enemies as it is. Again, the United States has done an amazing job so far in this game, managing to hold on to Karachi, managing to take Karachi just through diplomacy alone. Kudos on George Washington for his play so far. And even though it took him forever to take Islamabad, he didn't just declare peace. He didn't half-ass it and just destroy his military taking it. He took the city at one point. You have to... It doesn't matter how long it took for him to take the city. The fact that he still took it, that's good on him. Now, the next thing he wants to do is to grab some tiles, grab some territory here to keep Egypt from colonizing all of this territory. He kind of wants to block them off. Meanwhile, we head back over here. Japan has reached swordsmen. Looks like they've built their military back up. The Philippines is still waging war against Jakarta. Looks like they've actually managed to take the west coast with their with their navy. If I was Indonesia, oh, sorry, they've made peace. I didn't even see that. They're both blue, and they kind of like blended in with the American and with the sea there. But yeah, sorry, Indonesia and the Philippines have made peace, and in the peace deal, Indonesia gave away Surabaya, which gives the Philippines access to what's essentially the Panama Canal. It does cut off Indonesia from the enemy, their rival that they were attacking. Speaking of which, by the way, Turkey has surrounded Abuja. Now, whether or not they're able to take it with 3 triremes, especially with all of these Nigerian units nearby, is another matter, but they are sort of getting involved finally. Philippines is also another nation who's been doing surprisingly well in this game. I'm interested to see if this pays off for Taiwan. The United Kingdom is still managing to scrounge up some reserve forces to hold off the Chinese. The fact that the United Kingdom is still just like fending them off despite all odds is very impressive. Of course, the Ethiopian-Egyptian war here is still raging. Both nations are still basically just throwing units at each other. I don't think the front has moved at all. Egypt has taken advantage of their navy. That being said, Ethiopia doesn't have a port city. So, I mean, Navy's not really going to do much against them. And the United Kingdom has made peace with China. They lost Birmingham, but the fact that they didn't lose London, London took damage once out of that whole war. It's a testament to the fact that even if the United Kingdom can't win this game, they're certainly going to be a contender for the late game. And of course, that couldn't have come at better timing, as the Thai military is just marching on Beijing now. That being said, they're also trying to battle Germany. I think Thailand thought that they could use the war with Mexico to their advantage to try and attack Germany from behind. That being said, Germany hasn't really committed any forces to fighting Mexico, and Mexico hasn't really committed many forces to fighting Germany. It's basically a war that doesn't exist. It's not really happening. The United States is quickly consolidating Islamabad. And India and the United States have declared war on poor little Brazil. I don't know why they want to take it upon themselves to attack poor old Brazil here in Sao Paulo, probably for better relations with France. Be interesting to see these three as an axis at one point, because between the three of them, they control a huge swath of territory. Again, the AI doesn't think of alliances like that, but it's always nice to ponder what's going on through the computer's mind. Just kind of keeping an eye on North America. I feel like, yeah, there's going to be another Filipino-Japanese war coming up. This time, the Japanese are going to be ready. Alright, most literate people, so this is the largest technology, or the number of technologies that people have discovered. Surprisingly, Thailand and Germany are tied for first. The frontrunners last time we looked at this, or last that I can remember, they've kind of dropped a couple of rankings. Thailand, speaking of which, has just poured into the Chinese province here. Not doing so well against Germany, but that's to be expected when they open up two fronts against two relatively powerful nations. And Abuja has actually fallen quite a bit. Nigerian Navy is desperately trying to hold off the Turks. And Persia's denounced America, proving that even though they haven't founded a city, they can still affect the outcome of this game by making denouncements. The Thai and Chinese militaries are finally meeting each other in battle over Lake Yan'an there. That's what I'm calling it now. The United States is finally fortifying Karachi. They do best to just annex the city as opposed to keeping it as a puppet. And here's the huge war. We're going to call this the War of Mount Kailash. They haven't officially declared war yet, but you can see just the way they're moving their forces. It's going to happen. In these forests, these two nations are going to meet. And there will be blood. Mark my words. Let's see. Thailand still having a lot of difficulty advancing forward. People's Republic has discovered swordsmen, which is going to be a huge boon to them. It looks like Thailand is actually backing off a bit here, and they're instead focusing their efforts on Birmingham. At least the way that they're sending a column of composite bowmen as well as 2 spearmen, it seems, to the north, just so they can kind of engulf China. Now, I don't think Birmingham has much resource value, but it certainly does have strategic value when it comes to attacking Yunnan and attacking London. At least it would if London was not impossible to take at this point. The United States is moving its swordsmen to the south. You can understand why they took Islamabad now. It seems like they came across, they came across a whole bunch of coal. They don't realize that yet, though. But it certainly seems like they came into a huge supply of iron that they didn't have before. I only saw 1 swordsman before. Maybe down here? I don't feel like looking around for it. I feel like you guys just want to keep to the action. The Ethiopian-Egyptian war is still going on. Looks like Ethiopia is actually slowly but surely being whittled down by Egypt's chariot archers. I think even though Ethiopia had a surplus of spearmen, the fact that Egypt has had a horde of chariot archers who have a range advantage over the spearmen. And of course, Ethiopia just denounced America, which is a bad thing to do when you're in a war where you're losing forces fast, and the one that you're denouncing is actually your largest, most militaristic neighbor. Let's see how that plays out for them. It's a bold strategy. It looks like the two armies met each other. They both realized just how large each other's forces were, and they were like, oh, you know what? Never mind. We're not going to do this. Or will they? Alright. Germany has made peace with Ethiopia, realizing that they can't get to one another. Instead, choosing to focus on their respective wars. Thailand, it looks like, is slowly losing its military. Its military to the south here has kind of been depleted. They better hope to God that Germany doesn't decide to pivot towards them. And Ethiopia doesn't make peace with Egypt. Sao Paulo's still taking a bit of damage. Not really. No, you know what? I was mistaken. I thought these guys were still moving up on it. It looks like, for the most part, France has actually backed off of Sao Paulo. Which is good, because Sao Paulo can't be taken by France. Now, the Congo, on the other hand, with all of these naval units, might have a chance. Oh, speaking of the Congo, they have founded the city of Kavanga, off the coast of Africa. Any other cities I have missed? It doesn't look like it. No. Alright, next turn. What's Egypt doing here? Egypt is slowly but surely making their way into Ethiopian territory. They really have to worry about the Indians, though. Especially with all those elephants on the horizon. And Hitler has completed Petra, which is actually going to be a huge advantage to them in the future. And can we see it on the map here? Where is Petra? Is this Petra here? I want to say that. That's the building there. So Hamburg houses the World Wonder. Oh, and Nigeria and Indonesia made peace. I dismissed that because there was no exchange of territory. And for the most part, all Nigeria did was prove that going to war with it is a bad idea. Nigeria has certainly solidified itself as a middle power. It's held off all of its attackers thus far, and its attackers have actually paid dearly by losing a city of peace. Vietnam attacked them, depleted their military, and then had their capital taken by Turkey. Meanwhile, Indonesia attacked Nigeria, got attacked by the Philippines, and had to give up Surabaya. Thailand is looking more and more depleted by the moment. It's a good thing that China completed the Great Wall. Ooh, my coffee has gotten cold, which is not good. And now, for the most part, this is a period of peace. France is still trying to attack Brazil. Oh, Ethiopia has made peace with Egypt. I don't think there's an exchange of territory, from what I've seen. More interestingly, is that the Congo has declared war on Brazil, which has actually been brought down to around 80% health by France. And with their huge navy nearby, the Congo might actually be able to swoop in and actually eliminate France. We might have a double elimination in this episode. Oh, France has made peace with Brazil. And look at that. Already the Congo is moving in. They're saying to France, no. This is how you kill someone. And it's funny, the consequence of France making peace with Brazil there is that their forces were immediately pushed out. And instead of being pushed down into French territory, they were pushed off to this coast here. Now, triremes can't cross deep ocean tiles. So these two ships are just stuck there permanently. They were just exiled. As part of the peace deal, in my mind, Pedro, Emperor of Brazil, he said to France, he's like, all right. You can keep Rio de Janeiro, but those assholes who've been bombing the shit out of Sao Paulo, I want them gone forever. And Napoleon was like, well, I can't just kill my own soldiers because that would be terrible. But I do know of some really terrible islands. I don't think Napoleon was ever exiled off the coast of Africa. I think it was off the coast of Europe. Pretty sure that's where Elba is. But he's like, I do have this idea. You see, I was exiled to these islands, and I can exile to them to these islands as well in the middle of the southern Atlantic. And unfortunately, these guys, they were the victims of politics, really. That's all it is. These guys, they're martyrs for their cause. Unsung heroes. And this, of course, the Ethiopian-Egyptian peace deal, this was Thailand's nightmare, because now not only are they fighting China and Germany, they've also left themselves exposed to a war with Ethiopia, who still has a pretty decent military, all things considered. Especially when Thailand is depleting their military by the second. This is why you don't start stuff you can't finish. Very poor choice of actions on the part of Thailand. Sao Paulo falls even further, slowly but surely. Philippines has been denounced by Vietnam. Hitler's entered the medieval era. Has this given him any sort of advancement? No. Oh, Jeanne d'Arc. Ugh, I didn't realize she was a Nazi. And Guan Yu. I'm sure that's a famous historic figure I'm not aware of, but in this reality, it's actually a turncoat from China. He's the one who signaled for Germany to attack, and the Chinese built the Great Wall just in time. But he in this universe, Guan Yu is a national traitor. He's a Chinese man working for Nazi Germany. Terrible. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom has kind of built up their military again. Again, kudos on them for making the best of what they have. I mean, anybody stuck with Liverpool, ugh. And the United States has consolidated their power over Europe, just like real life. Funny enough, I feel like if Russia gave up all of its Asian holdings and joined the European Union, that's almost exactly what the European Union would look like now, considering there was Brexit. It's a superpower in the making, that's what I'm trying to say. On that note, Congo, still looking mighty impressive. India really better kick it into high gear. This would be a perfect time. You know what? I take that back. They have to disembark all their war elephants, it would be terrible for them to attack. I apologize. Mexico is still looking very lovely. And Turkey has managed to build up their navy. Not really attacking Nigeria anymore, just waiting for the peace deal. The war's basically ended in everything but name. Like the Korean War. Technically no peace treaty was signed, but obviously there's still no major battles going on anymore. It looks like Japan is actually trying to move their forces south to attack the weakened Indonesian state, but the Philippines is trying to move their forces north to attack Japan, and they're kind of trying to get by one another here. It's a very, very funny scenario they have going on here. Meanwhile, I believe Ethiopia is still at war with Russia. Where's Ethiopia? Ethiopia is still at war with Russia. They just kind of got preoccupied by Egypt trying to invade. So, they're like, hey, now let's resume. Mexico has sort of given up on their war with Germany. Alright. And Sao Paulo ticks ever lower. Basically, Brazil has to survive for 10 turns. This would be the third one coming up. Because after 10 turns, they'd be able to make a peace deal. I'm not sure it's going to happen, though. Because the Congo still has plenty of triremes in reserve. They also have lots of composite bowmen to rain hellfire down upon the Brazilian city. And Turkey has entered the medieval era, and Siam and the Philippines have made a declaration of friendship. It's interesting that they've made a declaration of friendship, actually, because they're both on opposite sides of the world. This goes to show you how small the world's getting. Oh, and Beijing actually manages to take damage. Will that remain? Will the Thai military be able to keep up this pressure? It's looking doubtful. Especially with no catapults. No trebuchets either. No one's advanced trebuchets yet, but they would certainly be helpful. It looks like Germany has gotten the pikemen, which isn't good. This is what I like about the Nazi Germany mod. Also, not a phrase I was never ever expecting to ever to say. This is what I like about the Nazi Germany. ... Taken out of context, and so it's really bad. But basically, it's a very aggressive civilization that basically they declare war on pretty much everybody. They're very hostile. They're very individualistic. They're very monolithic. They like to stand by themselves. And what happens is that this causes Germany to make a lot of enemies at the start of the game. If they manage to live to the late game, however, because their unique ability, it allows them to use great generals as great scientists. So basically, every time they have a great general that they don't really need on the front lines, they can expend that to basically get a free technology, which means that they can kind of snowball into being a technological leader, and we're kind of seeing this play out with Germany. Even though they only have 2 cities still, they have taken the edge for technology. And with Thailand weakening themselves, with China continuing to be weak, especially with war after war after war, we might actually see Germany emerge as a major world power if they manage to attack Thailand and China at the right time. And meanwhile, Sao Paulo's down to the red. I believe that's the 4th turn. So, let's see if Brazil can hold out. They've been resilient so far, but I think the odds are against them this time. The Congo certainly played their cards right. And again, Congo is a civilization I wouldn't have expected to play well, just because I don't think they have a very militaristic bias. But they have expanded further than almost any other civilization. They have some Atlantic holdings. They have holdings in Europe. They have holdings in West Africa, of course. They've managed to take 2 cities from enemy civilizations. They managed to take 1 city from Pakistan, 1 city from Egypt, and they've managed to take. Looks like they're going to be able to take Sao Paulo. Let's see, Ethiopia is slowly marching on St. Petersburg again. Beijing takes just a little bit more damage. I don't even think the horsemen are going to help the Thai military here. The United Kingdom might actually, funny enough, declare war and retake Birmingham, because it looks like they have a military advantage here. And they're just starting to pour out pikemen. Meanwhile, Vietnam has built up their military again. The Turks, however, have gotten a swordsman. It's not really going to help them when they decide to march into the Amazon rainforest. So for now, I want to say Vietnam is fine. There is definitely a military buildup in North America, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. It's either between the Philippines and Japan to see who controls the continent, considering that Indonesia has kind of foolishly painted themselves into a corner. And the Philippines has declared war on Indonesia, as if almost on cue. That being said, with Japan as powerful as they are now, they're going to have to wish for a quick and bloody war that still leaves their military intact. Because the second they show any sign of weakness, yeah, Japan is going to swoop in and attack them. Oh! And we just missed it. I didn't think this would be the turn. I was expecting next turn. But the Congo has actually proven me wrong. And they actually managed to take Sao Paulo and eliminate Brazil. So Brazil is eliminated in second last place. They are the second elimination of this game and of this episode. We saw Pakistan and now Brazil. Brazil, it was either them or France, and France just proved to be a lot smarter, a lot more strategic and a lot more resourceful. And once they lost Rio de Janeiro, the fact that Sao Paulo is kind of based at the bottom of the mountains and it's nothing more than a strategic city, you knew it was the end for them. I wasn't expecting it to end quite this suddenly, but the Congo has really shown themselves to be a top player in this game, especially building up their navy as it is. Congo is certainly a naval superpower at this point. And Beijing still manages to hold off the Thai military. Russia still manages to hold off the Ethiopians. And the United States is enjoying a couple of years of peace, as they should, after their hard-earned gains. Let's head back over here. And just as I say that, the United States and India declare war on Egypt. So the Philippines has declared war on Indonesia, and Indonesia is actually taking this opportunity to use their local navy to attack Surabaya. So the Philippines might actually lose the city that they gained from the last war, which would be quite lame. But the United States is actually in a good position here to take Memphis. It's going to be a little difficult to get a military unit in there. That being said, they took Islamabad before, and now they have a lot more swordsmen to deal damage with. Egypt is still kind of tapped from their war with Ethiopia. On top of that, India has a rather large military of war elephants, which they can march across Greece here into Memphis and across the Suez Canal to try and attack Thebes. I don't think India's really going to do much of this war, but the fact that they're going to be able to distract the Egyptian military somewhat certainly helps out the Americans. Beijing takes a bit more damage. Again, at this point, Thailand is basically just wasting their time and their resources. Nothing else is really happening here. The Congo has consolidated their power over West Africa. And, funny enough, taking Sao Paulo, they've actually regained their true start location. So, kudos to the Congo. And Catholicism is spreading across Oceania and southern East Asia. Alright, let's see what happens here now. Philippines and Nigeria are now friends. That's good. The Philippines is playing the smart run there. Smart game. Kind of avoiding Nigeria being able to attack their southern flank. Not that it's going to matter in a moment, because it seems like Indonesia is destined to take Surabaya back. Unless the Philippines can really kick it into high gear with their navy here. Meanwhile, the entire Filipino military is marching on Jakarta. Looks like they're actually up to the gates. Now, the Mexican geography here is probably going to hold them back for another couple of turns, but Indonesia, outside of their navy, doesn't really have an army to hold off the Filipinos. So again, the Philippines has to hope for like a quick war. Otherwise, they're going to weaken themselves and leave themselves exposed to an attack by Japan. Meanwhile, the United States and India see their first casualties of the war with Egypt. Gonna be interesting to see what comes of this. Lots of red lines, or lots of red damage popping up. India is landing war elephants on the Arabian Peninsula. Persia's denounced Congo, proving again that a sort of but not dead civilization can still affect world politics with their denouncements. Thailand is still trying to make something of an effort against Germany here. However, between the pikemen and the fact that Thailand has to go all the way around, I can't remember the name for this little peninsula here with Burma and Vietnam and all these other different little nations on it. But they have to go all the way around this landmass here to attack Berlin. Yeah. Ethiopia still hasn't done any damage to St. Petersburg. And Surabaya is down to the red. And Surabaya falls to Indonesia. Which means that if Indonesia wants to make a peace deal again, they have a bargaining chip. Egyptian military is doing well for now, but they're certainly exhausted from their multiple wars. The Indian military, on the other hand, just like sending their elephants off on boats. They're like, we got this. The Thai military is looking very thin now. Not looking good. The United Kingdom military is looking alright. And Germany's military is looking a little more depleted than I thought it was. Alright, let's head back over here. See what Japan's going to do now, because it certainly looks like Japan is moving. And Jakarta takes damage. Mexico and Great Britain have made a declaration of friendship. Vietnam and Nigeria have renewed their declaration of friendship again. It's the coalition of fuck the Turks. Very powerful coalition. Alright, let's keep an eye over here. How's the war against Memphis going? Oh, the Indian military marches towards Thebes. Memphis actually starts to take a hefty amount of damage. And Russia and the Philippines have made a declaration of friendship, which is impressive because Russia is a landlocked nation in the middle of Asia. And the fact that they've actually managed to make contact with the Philippines is a testament to just how far these nations can go now. Jakarta has healed back up their damage. Looks like they have Surabaya on lock now. I'm uncertain as to whether or not Japan is going to attack the Philippines or if they're moving to help in the war effort against Indonesia. Only time will tell. Maybe on this next turn. Hitler has completed Chichen Itza. India has kind of pulled back their military a bit. The United States is trying to get their swordsmen into place. They really need some catapults in range, though, to take Memphis. And Chichen Itza is going to help with their golden ages as well as their happiness. Yeah, Thailand is not looking too hot right now. They have certainly overextended. Jakarta's taken even more damage. And the entire, or not the entire, Filipino military, but a hefty amount of it, is marching on its doors. Filipino Navy is also off the coast of Jakarta, battling the Indonesian Navy. There we go. Indonesia had to think about that term for a second. Or sorry, the Philippines had to think about that that play for a second. All right. So on turn 150, Washington's made peace with Hitler. Hitler has built a whole ton of pikemen, and they're slowly but surely moving into Thai territory. The United States is marching on Memphis and Thebes. India is marching on Memphis and Thebes. It is not looking good for Egypt. They're only saved from absolute destruction by their geography at this point. How long that'll allow them to hold out, though, the United States so far has proven that geography doesn't really keep them from conquering nations, just like real life. There's a huge power buildup in North America. There's been a couple of interesting wars going on in South America. The Turks aren't looking as strong as they used to. Vietnam actually looks like they have a pretty decent military. And assuming that Turkey actually gets themselves into a war with somebody at some point, Vietnam might actually be able to jump out and attack the Ottomans in Hanoi and Istanbul if they play their cards right, especially if they remain aligned with Nigeria. The Congo is probably the biggest winner of this episode, because not only did they take Elephantine and eliminate a civilization in Sao Paulo, they also managed to gain a rapidly growing city of Kavanga, and they've kind of consolidated their control over Western Eurasia, Africa, or Afro-Eurasia. I forget what the old world. They've managed to gain a foothold over the entirety of the western coast of the old world, save for Paris here. But don't worry, that'll come in the future. Anyway, on to the info addict slides. So, World Fact Book. Sorry, I'm tired, so I'm slurring my words. First in population is Egypt right now. That's probably going to change after their cities go under siege next episode. I guarantee it. Unless they peace out soon, that's what's going to happen. They're followed closely by Ethiopia, and the People's Republic is in a distant third place. Crop yield, the United States, surprisingly, even though half their holdings are above the Arctic Circle, they have the highest crop yield in the world with 119. Manufactured goods, also the United States. Not too surprising on this regard, considering I think they have more cities than anybody else. We'll check that in a moment. Anyway, they have a distant lead over Thailand, who's in second place, who's followed closely by the Congo in third. And the fact that the Congo doesn't have a higher manufactured goods here is very interesting. Anyway, gross national product, the United States is in first place, almost double what second place Thailand has, 173 to 108. I guess not entirely double, but it's certainly a hefty lead, especially compared to second and third place. Thailand has a lead of 3 million gold over the Philippines, which is nothing. Land area, this would be why this is why crop yield, the United States was number one there. It's because they have more territory than anybody else in the world. The Congo is in second place, and Thailand is in third. This might change in the next episode, however, considering that they've managed to piss off all their neighbors, and they're going to pay dearly for that. Military manpower, the Congo actually takes the first place here, followed by the United States. It's interesting because these two are neighbors now, and having superpowers beside one another, you know there's going to be a major, especially since there's previous accounts of hostility between the two, there's going to be a major war happening between them, and it's certainly going to decide the fate of Europe and Africa here, as we know it. Meanwhile, the Ottomans are actually in third, so despite the fact that their military is kind of thinned out, it's more so because they have more territory to defend than an actual loss of military. The Philippines and Japan are actually fairly close, so as long as Japan actually has numbers lower than the Philippines, I don't think Japan will ever attack. If the Philippines does happen to take significant losses fighting Indonesia, however, and dips below the Japanese military, we could certainly see an upset of power in North America. And for those of you interested, these people are at the bottom. Indonesia is the last of the living civs, followed by Russia and Egypt. The fact that Egypt is down here, and India's 8th, and the United States is number 2, again, it doesn't really bode well for Egypt in the next episode. Let's see, literacy. No, we don't want that. Technologies, here we go. So there's a three-way tie for first right now. Germany, Thailand, and Egypt are all tied for first. It's interesting that Thailand is actually technologically tied for Germany because Germany is deploying pikemen against them, while Thailand is still desperately kind of clinging to their obsolete units. They focus too much on war right now and not enough on building up their military with the new technology that they have. And, of course, in last place is, of the living civilizations, we have Russia and Great Britain. Great Britain, not surprising, considering that there's not a lot of science to be found up in Kamchatka here. Russia also been reduced to one city in the middle of Siberia. Let's see, cities here. The Congo is actually in first place with 6, with the United States at 5 in second place, as well as the 3 civilizations here, Thailand, the Philippines, and Mexico, all tied for third. And out of all of them, Mexico is the only one who doesn't have a occupied city on their city count list there. And what's one last one that we want to go to? Let's go with Total Faith. No. Actually, I know what we can go to. We'll go to the religion overview. And just in case you guys are interested, these are the current religion rankings. So Catholicism is in first place with 5 cities. Oriental Orthodoxy has 4. Shaivism has 3. And Itan has a measly 2, I believe, which are all exclusively in Nigeria. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.